the billionaire heir of Sterling Enterprises, Julian Sterling, was caught having a steamy hookup in the backseat of a car. As the internet erupted in fury, Julian called a sudden press conference and announced to the world, "The woman in the video is my fiancée, Chloe Henderson. It's completely normal for a couple to have intimate moments. I hope everyone can give us some space." With that single sentence, I was branded as thirsty, shameless, and loose. Fans abandoned me overnight. Brands canceled my contracts. Endless black PR flooded the internet. No matter how much I screamed my innocence, nobody believed me. Ultimately, unable to withstand the relentless cyberbullying, I swallowed a lethal dose of sleeping pills. At my funeral, Julian stood before my portrait, whispering with hypocritical grief, "I'm sorry, Chloe. We had an arranged marriage. I had to let you take the fall. Gemma is just an ordinary girl. If a scandalous video like that got out with her name on it, she would have been destroyed. But you're a top star. You're used to being hated. I thought you could handle it. Didn't expect you to be so weak. Just look at this as our sacrifice. I promise I'll make it up to you in our next life." After my death, he rebranded Gemma Brooks, launching her career as a rising star with endless premium resources. My parents fell into severe depression from the endless harassment and passed away shortly after. When I opened my eyes, again, I was back to the morning of Julian's press conference. "Did you hear the heir of Sterling Enterprises was caught hooking up with some girl in the backseat of his car? Are you serious? Today is the launch party for the movie his family funded. With so many industry insiders here, that's just insane. Who is the shameless slut creeping into his car at an event like this? How cheap." Representatives, producers, and actors scrambled toward the parking lot to catch a glimpse of the drama. A black Maybach sat with its door slightly ajar. Victoria Sterling stood nearby, her face pale with rage, flanked by two executives from entertainment companies allied with Sterling Enterprises. Inside the car, a woman was disheveled, wrapped tightly in Julian's suit jacket as he held her protectively in his arms. She was trembling in his embrace. Her bare legs and ankles wore obvious flesh red marks. It didn't take a genius to figure out what had just happened. Julian held her tight, his voice low but loud enough for the onlookers to hear. "Mom, this is all my fault. Has nothing to do with Chloe. Chloe and I were about to announce our relationship anyway. I just couldn't help myself. Tonight, please support us. Don't be scared, Chloe. I'll call a press conference tomorrow and make our relationship official." The moment those words left his mouth, the crowd on the edge of the parking lot went wild. What? Chloe Henderson? She's the female lead of this movie. If this gets out, her agent is going to lose their mind. Her sponsorships are done for. Doesn't she always play up that innocent sweet girl next door image? Who knew she was so wild and private? Please, how do you think she got those top-tier roles? She slept her way to the top. Once her fans find out, they're going to riot. While the gossip was reaching a fever pitch, I casually pushed my way through the crowd, looking perfectly confused and curious. "Hey guys, what's everyone crowding around here for?" Everyone whipped their heads around. A collective gasp echoed through the garage. "Chloe Henderson, why are you here? Aren't you supposed to be in the car? If you're out here, then who the hell is in the car?" In an instant, every single eye locked back onto Julian and the trembling girl in his arms. I looked over, and Julian's face instantly drained of all color. He never expected me to be here. Yesterday, I had told him I wouldn't make it to the launch party because of an overseas shoot. Yet here I was standing before him, wearing flawless makeup and a stunning gown. In my past life, I was shooting a commercial abroad when this happened. By the time I found out, Julian's PR spots had already pushed the headline "Chloe Henderson caught in backseat scandal" with billionaire heir to the #1 trending spot. By the time I tried to clear my name, no one believed a word I said. This time, I had rearranged my entire schedule just for this moment. I was going to rip off his hypocritical mask in front of everyone. I stared at the scene inside the car, my face turning pale as if I were in deep shock. My voice trembled. "Julian, what? What are you doing? And who is this girl beside me?" My close friend, Mia Crawford, a legendary actress with massive clout in the industry, let out a cold laugh. "Oh, you're finally here, Chloe. This bastard Julian just claimed the girl in his arms was you, and he even promised to announce our relationship tomorrow to save your reputation." I took a step forward, pointing at the woman in the car who still didn't dare to show her face. "She is Chloe Henderson." "Julian, what is the meaning of this? Why are you slandering me in front of all these people? Do you have any idea how important a female artist's reputation is in this industry? If I hadn't shown up tonight, would I have been branded a slut for the rest of my life?" "Julian, I have never done anything to hurt you. Why are you trying to destroy me?" Victoria Sterling's face was now as black as charcoal. Julian stammered, scrambling for words. "Chloe, didn't you say you had an overseas shoot, that you couldn't make it tonight?" I immediately raised my voice, making sure every single person in the garage could hear me clearly. "Oh, because you knew I wouldn't be here, you decided to throw this dirt on me? Who is this girl? Why are you two conspiring to ruin me? Why did you call her by my name in front of everyone? What is your sick plan?" If Mia hadn't known my schedule and insisted on driving me here to make a quick appearance, I would have had absolutely no way to clear my name. Flustered, Julian tried to backpedal. "That's not it. I just said your name because I panicked. I swear I didn't mean to hurt you." I stopped looking at him and turned to Victoria Sterling. My expression softened into pure, vulnerable grief. "Mrs. Sterling, you watched me grow up in this industry. Please, you have to do what's right. My team and my parents are currently out of the country. I have no one here to defend me. Mrs. Sterling, for the sake of the long friendship between your family and my mother, please help me." I bowed my head, looking like I was about to break down. Several prominent female producers and brand executives immediately rushed forward to support me. "We are veterans in this industry. We won't let you be bullied." Eleanor Thorne, the powerful head of Galaxy Pictures, spoke up in a commanding tone. "Mrs. Sterling, your son committed this disgusting act and then tried to destroy the reputation of an A-list actress to cover it up. Don't you think the Sterling family owes Chloe and all of us here a proper explanation?" Mia immediately backed me up, pulling out her phone. "Don't be scared, Chloe. I'm calling the editors and chief of the major media outlets right now. This needs to be cleared up tonight. Nobody is throwing dirt on you and getting away with it." Victoria Sterling knew that if this wasn't handled perfectly, it would deal a fatal blow to Sterling Enterprises stock. I stepped forward, tightly grasping my hands, her voice dripping with urgent reassurance. "My dear girl, you have been deeply wronged tonight. This is all Julian's fault, and I will make sure he begs for your forgiveness. Must have lost his goddamn mind getting seduced by some cheap trash." She whipped around, glaring at her bodyguards. "What are you idiots standing there for? Drag that little slut out of the car. I want to see exactly who had the audacity to pull this stunt." At her command, several bulky bodyguards launched forward to drag the woman out. It was Gemma Brooks, a rookie actress who had just signed with Sterling Enterprises, the very girl the company was planning to heavily promote. Gemma let out a sharp shriek, falling weakly to the ground sobbing. Julian, save me. Before anyone could react, she scrambled on her hands and knees toward Victoria Sterling, grabbing her leg and begging desperately, Mrs. Sterling, please believe me. I didn't seduce Julian. We love each other. Please let me stay by his side. I don't need a title. Even if I'm just his assistant, I'll be happy. Victoria was shaking with rage. She kicked Gemma off her leg and roared, shut up. Who gave you permission to call me that? You are nothing but a low-tier girl signed to my company. I only gave you a chance because I thought you had potential and heard your family was struggling. How dare you pull this trashy stunt? She raised her hand and delivered a brutal slap across Gemma's face. As of today, your contract is terminated. You are banned from this industry, and you'll have absolutely nothing to do with the Sterling family ever again. Seeing this, Julian panicked. Mom, why are you doing this? Emma is just an independent girl with no backing. Where is she supposed to go if you fire her? It was my fault. I had too much to drink and lost control. Mom, please let her stay. Even if she just stays with me. Victoria took a deep breath, completely ignoring her pathetic son, and grabbed my hand with a warm fake smile. Chloe, look at this mess. You are the only one the Sterling family recognizes as our future daughter-in-law, the future lady of Sterling Enterprises. I'll let you decide what to do with this girl. We will. Do whatever you want, I sneered inwardly. They wanted to dump this toxic garbage fire into my pocket. In their dreams, in my past life, they hooked up and threw the blame on me, leaving me ruined and dead. Meanwhile, they enjoyed wealth, fame, and a happy life together. Not this time. I gently but firmly pulled my hands back, taking a step away from her. Mrs. Sterling. Other than potential business collaborations, I have no personal relationship with the Sterling family. Let's not throw around terms like future daughter-in-law or future lady of Sterling Enterprises. As for Gemma, she is an artist under your company who has crossed professional boundaries with Julian. Her fate should be decided by you, her boss, or by Julian's actual future girlfriend. I am merely a guest invited to tonight's launch party. I have no right to interfere with your company's internal affairs, nor do I have any interest in Julian's private life. Julian panicked, his voice rising in frustration. Chloe, I apologize for calling out your name earlier, but we both know our families are social matches. An arranged marriage is inevitable anyway. It shouldn't matter if people think it was you. I was fully planning on taking responsibility and marrying you. But Gemma is different. She's a helpless girl. If this scandal gets out, she's done. Her career will be ruined. How is she supposed to survive? Before he could finish his pathetic speech, I stepped forward and delivered a swift, hard slap across his face. Slap. The entire garage fell into a stunned silence. My voice shook with righteous fury as I interrogated him. Her career matters, but my reputation and future can be casually trampled on. I built my career brick by brick with my own hard work. My fans and my projects brought me here. You know how vicious the media is, yet you slandered me in front of everyone just to save yourselves. You trying to force me to commit suicide. Furthermore, when did the Henderson family or my studio ever agree to an arranged marriage with the Sterlings? I have never promised you anything. Our families haven't even had basic discussions about it. How dare you try to force this narrative on me? Just because I told you yesterday that I couldn't make it to the party, you thought you could play this sick game. Because I wouldn't be here to defend myself? You wanted to destroy me. Expect the lawsuit from my lawyers. I will see you in court. With that, I turned around to leave. The whispers among the guests erupted instantly. Julian is disgusting. He got caught with a rookie and tried to use Chloe as a shield. Chloe is so unlucky to be targeted by such a toxic, spoiled, rich kid. Thank God she showed up tonight. Otherwise, the headlines tomorrow would have destroyed her, and she would have never been able to clear her name. Eleanor Thorne quickly held me, and I leaned onto her shoulder, letting fake tears slip down my face. If Mia hadn't forced me to come tonight, I would have been ruined forever. They only did this because my parents are abroad. They think I'm easy to bully because I'm on my own. Julian held his bruised cheek, looking incredibly desperate. Chloe, why are you being so dramatic? Our families have so many business partnerships. Marriage is good for both of us. I admitted I was wrong. I only did it because I knew I was going to marry you anyway. Even if you had to take a little hit to your reputation temporarily, we would end up together. I would have made it up to you. But now you've ruined everything. How is Gemma supposed to show her face again? I snapped my head back, cutting him off with icy disdain. You got caught in a trashy backseat scandal with your employee, tried to use my name to cover it up, and now you have the nerve to blame me? Julian Sterling. I will never under any circumstances have any relationship with you, or Sterling Enterprises outside of basic mandated business contracts. Stop dreaming. Victoria Sterling's face turned completely cold, using her intimidating presence as a powerful business matriarch. Chloe, watch your words. And corporate partnerships are not something a young actress like you can simply dismiss on a whim. She was trying to use her status and background to crush me. But the moment she finished her threat, a powerful booming voice echoed from the back of the crowd, shattering her intimidation. The Sterling family thinks they can humiliate my daughter just because we aren't in the country. The Sterling family thinks they can humiliate my daughter just because we aren't in the country. My father's voice thundered across the garage. Every conversation stopped. People turned toward the entrance as my father, Adrian Henderson, walked through the crowd with my mother beside him. They had apparently returned from their overseas trip early. And judging by the expression on my father's face, somebody was about to have a very bad night. Dad walked straight toward me. Chloe, are you hurt? I shook my head. No. He looked at the red marks around my wrist where Julian had grabbed me earlier, and his expression darkened. Then he looked at Julian. My daughter was almost framed for a scandal that could have destroyed her entire career. You used her name to protect yourself. Julian's face went pale. Mr. Henderson, I can explain. You don't need to explain anything to me. Dad stepped closer. You were caught with another woman. Instead of admitting what you did, you deliberately told everyone she was my daughter. You knew exactly what would happen. Julian swallowed. It wasn't supposed to go this far. My mother gave a cold laugh. That's what people say when their plan fails. Victoria immediately stepped forward. Adrian, let's calm down. This was an unfortunate misunderstanding between the younger generation. Julian made a mistake, but there is no need to destroy decades of cooperation between our families. My father looked at her like she had just said something ridiculous. Cooperation? Your son attempted to sacrifice my daughter's reputation to protect his mistress. And you're worried about cooperation? Victoria's face stiffened. Gemma is being punished. Julian will apologize. The matter can end here. I stepped forward. No. Everyone looked at me. I wiped the remaining tears from my face. I don't want an apology. Julian stared at me. Chloe, I raised my hand. Don't. For years, I had been taught that surviving in this industry meant knowing when to compromise. Smile for the right people. Accept uncomfortable favors. Stay quiet when powerful people cross the line. Never embarrass the people who could influence your career. But that was exactly how people like Julian survived. They depended on everyone else being afraid of consequences. I wasn't afraid anymore. I want the full recording from the parking garage. Mia immediately lifted her phone. Already requested it. I nodded. I also want the security footage from the entrance, the parking area, and the hallway leading to the garage. Dad looked at my manager. Get our lawyers on it. Already calling them. Julian's expression changed. Wait, you don't need to do this. I turned toward him. You don't get to decide that. His jaw tightened. Chloe, think carefully. If you file a lawsuit against Sterling Enterprises, our families will become enemies. I smiled. Julian, you keep talking about our families as if they have already decided my entire life for me. They haven't. And neither have you. His expression turned ugly. You really want to throw away everything we could have had over one mistake? One mistake? I laughed. You didn't accidentally call that woman Chloe. You didn't accidentally hold a press conference. You didn't accidentally prepare a statement blaming me. You had an entire PR strategy ready before I even arrived. Julian went silent. That was enough. Mia stepped forward. And we have something even better. She turned her phone around. A recording was playing. Julian's voice came through clearly. Chloe won't be there tonight. Her overseas schedule makes it impossible. Then Victoria's voice followed. Good. Once the picture spread, we'll announce that Chloe and Julian are engaged. The scandal will disappear within a few days. The garage erupted. What the hell? They planned this? She was never even there. That's insane. Mia stopped the recording. Julian looked like the floor had disappeared beneath him. Mom. Victoria's face had gone completely white. Where did you get that? Mia smiled. You should be asking your son why he recorded it in the first place. I looked at Julian. For a moment, he didn't look like the spoiled heir everyone knew. He looked terrified. Then Gemma suddenly screamed. You're all lying. Everyone turned. Gemma was crying so hard that her makeup had begun running down her face. Julian loves me. He promised me. He told me Chloe was just an arranged marriage. Julian's expression changed. Gemma, shut up. But she kept going. You said once this scandal happened, Chloe would take the blame and you'd announce me as your girlfriend afterward. I stared at her. Interesting. Julian closed his eyes. Gemma finally realized what she had just revealed. I walked toward her. So this wasn't some spontaneous affair. You both knew exactly what you were doing. Gemma's lips trembled. I didn't mean for you to actually find out. That sentence made everyone gasp. I looked toward the reporters who had gathered at the edge of the garage. Good. Record everything. My father nodded toward them. You heard my daughter. Record it all. Victoria suddenly stepped forward. Enough. Her voice was powerful enough to make several people flinch. This is a private Sterling family matter. I turned toward her. No. It stopped being private when your son used my name to manufacture a public scandal. Then I pulled out my phone. And since we're being honest tonight, I have one more thing. Julian stared at me. What? I opened a file. His face changed before I even played it. The recording was from 3 weeks earlier. Julian's voice filled the garage. Once Chloe is tied to me publicly, she'll have no choice but to help Sterling Pictures secure the Henderson family's investment. Another man's voice answered. And if she refuses? Julian laughed. She won't. Her parents care too much about maintaining the relationship between our families. I paused the recording. My father looked at me. You kept this? I nodded. I had discovered the recording in my previous life. Except back then, I never understood what it meant. I thought Julian was simply talking about business. Now I knew better. He hadn't wanted me because he loved me. He wanted access to my family, our connections, our investments, my career, everything I had built. He wanted to put his name over my life and call it an arranged marriage. I looked directly at him. You weren't planning to marry me. You were planning to acquire me. Julian's face twisted. That's not what I meant. I don't care what you meant. I care what you did. My mother walked to my side and took my hand. Then my father turned toward Victoria. The Henderson family is terminating every non-essential partnership with Sterling Enterprises. Victoria's eyes widened. You can't do that. We absolutely can. Dad smiled. And we'll be reviewing every existing contract for conflicts of interest and breaches of conduct. Victoria's expression became murderous. Adrian, think about what you're doing. I already have. He looked at me. And my daughter has made her decision. I stepped forward. Actually, Dad, there's one more thing. I turned toward the reporters. Tomorrow morning, I'm holding my own press conference. Julian's eyes widened. What are you going to say? I smiled. The truth. For once. Everyone will hear it from me. Then I walked past him. Mia followed. My parents came behind us. I didn't look back. Because this time, I wasn't running away from a scandal. I was walking straight into the fire. And I intended to leave Sterling Enterprises burning in the truth. The Sterling family thinks they can humiliate my daughter just because we aren't in the country. My father's voice thundered across the garage. Everyone turned as my parents walked through the crowd. Dad went straight to me. Are you hurt? I shook my head. Then he turned toward Julian. Your son used my daughter's name to cover up his own scandal. Victoria immediately stepped forward. Adrian, this is a misunderstanding. Julian made a mistake. Gemma has already been punished. My father laughed coldly. Your son deliberately framed my daughter. This isn't a misunderstanding. I stepped forward. I don't want an apology. Julian stared at me. Chloe, don't. I pulled out my phone. I want every second of the security footage from this garage preserved. Mia smiled and raised her own phone. Already handled. Then she played a recording. Julian's voice filled the garage. Chloe won't be here tonight. Her overseas schedule makes it impossible. Victoria's voice followed. Good. Once the scandal spreads, we'll announce Chloe and Julian's engagement. The scandal will disappear within a few days. The entire crowd exploded. They planned it. They were going to frame Chloe. Julian's face went white. Mom. Victoria couldn't answer. Then Gemma suddenly screamed. You're all lying. Julian promised me. Julian spun around. Gemma, shut up. But she had already lost control. You said Chloe would take the blame. You said after the scandal, you'd announce me as your girlfriend. Everyone stared at Julian. I looked at Gemma. So this wasn't an accident. You planned to sacrifice me. Gemma's face crumpled. I didn't mean for you to find out. I smiled. Thank you for confirming it. My father immediately told the reporters to record everything. Then I played one final recording. Julian's voice came through. Once Chloe is publicly tied to me, she'll have no choice but to help Sterling Pictures secure the Henderson family's investment. My smile disappeared. You didn't want to marry me. You wanted my family, my connections, and my career. Julian panicked. That's not what I meant. I don't care what you meant. I care what you did. Dad stepped forward. The Henderson family is terminating every non-essential partnership with Sterling Enterprises. Victoria's face changed. You can't do that. We absolutely can. I looked at Julian. And I'm filing lawsuits against everyone involved in this smear campaign. Julian's expression collapsed. Chloe, don't destroy everything over this. I laughed. You tried to destroy my entire life over yours. Now you're worried about consequences? He had nothing to say. I turned toward the reporters. Tomorrow morning, I'm holding a press conference. Every lie will be exposed. Then I walked away with my parents and Mia. Behind me, Julian shouted my name. I didn't turn around. In my past life, they had watched me die and called me weak. This time, they were going to watch me take everything they thought they could steal from me. The next morning, the press conference room was packed before the doors even opened. Every major entertainment outlet had sent reporters. The hashtag Chloe Henderson scandal was still trending, but the narrative had completely changed overnight. Instead of calling me shameless, people were demanding answers from Julian Sterling. At exactly 9 o'clock, I walked onto the stage.
Mia sabdesideme.
My parents were in the front row. Behind me was a single screen displaying the Sterling Enterprises logo with one word across it. Evidence. The reporters immediately started shouting questions. Chloe, did Julian deliberately frame you? Are you ending your engagement with him? Were you and Julian ever actually engaged? Did Gemma Brooks have an affair with him? I raised my hand. Everyone quieted. I'll answer everything. I looked directly into the cameras. First, Julian Sterling and I were never engaged. Our families have worked together professionally for years, but no marriage agreement was ever finalized. Second, I was never inside that car. And third, Julian knowingly used my name to protect himself and Gemma Brooks. The screen behind me lit up. The first recording played. Julian's voice. Chloe won't be there tonight. Her overseas schedule makes it impossible. Then Victoria's voice. Once the scandal spreads, we'll announce Chloe and Julian's engagement. The room erupted. Reporters immediately began typing. I let them react before continuing. This wasn't an accident. It was a plan. A plan that depended on one thing. Me being somewhere else. I looked into the cameras. Unfortunately for them, I changed my schedule. The next screen showed security footage from the garage. It showed Julian arriving with Gemma. It showed the two of them entering the car. Then it showed me arriving later with Mia. The timeline was undeniable. The reporters went wild. But I wasn't finished. The screen changed again. This time, screenshots appeared. Messages between Julian and Gemma. Once Chloe takes the blame, the public will hate her. She'll have no choice but to disappear for a while. Then we'll announce our relationship. One reporter stood up. Chloe, are you saying they intentionally planned to destroy your career?
Yes.
I answered without hesitation. And there's more. Another recording played. Julian's voice filled the room. Once Chloe is publicly tied to me, she'll have no choice but to help Sterling Pictures secure the Henderson family's investment. The room became completely chaotic. My father's expression remained calm. I looked toward the cameras. He didn't love me. He wanted access to my family. He wanted my name attached to his company. And when I wasn't available to serve as a shield, he decided to sacrifice my reputation instead. A reporter shouted, "What about Gemma?" I looked at the camera. Gemma made her choices. So did Julian. They are both adults. I have no interest in destroying her personally, but I will not protect either of them from the consequences of their actions. That sentence immediately went viral. Then another reporter asked the question I had been waiting for. Chloe, what happens to your relationship with Sterling Enterprises now? I smiled. Nothing. Because there is no relationship. My father leaned toward his microphone. Effective immediately, Henderson Holdings is suspending all non-essential cooperation with Sterling Enterprises pending a complete legal review. The room exploded again. And the real bomb dropped 10 minutes later. Several other investors announced they were reviewing their partnerships with Sterling Enterprises. By noon, Sterling Enterprises stock had begun falling. By 3 o'clock, every major entertainment headline had changed. Sterling heir accused of deliberate smear campaign against A-list actress. Chloe Henderson exposes secret plan. Gemma Brooks's rise tied to Sterling heir's secret relationship. And then came the call from Galaxy Pictures. Eleanor Thorne was laughing. Chloe, I have an offer for you. I smiled. What kind? The female lead in our next 3 films. And one more thing. What's that? Eleanor's voice became amused. We're buying the distribution rights to your current movie from Sterling Pictures. I nearly laughed. So you're stealing their movie?
No.
She chuckled. We're rescuing yours. I looked out the window at the city below. In my previous life, Sterling Enterprises had used its money to bury me. This time, their money was going to disappear because of me. And Julian had no idea that losing me was only the beginning. By noon, the entire internet had turned against Julian and Gemma. The recordings, security footage, and messages spread everywhere. Sterling heir deliberately framed A-list actress. Chloe Henderson exposes secret scheme. Gemma Brooks's secret relationship with Julian revealed. Sterling Enterprises stock began crashing. Then their business partners started pulling out. By evening, 3 major brands announced they were suspending their contracts with Julian's company. Victoria Sterling called me personally. Chloe, this has gone far enough. We can settle this privately. I laughed. You had your chance to settle it privately before you tried to destroy me publicly. She lowered her voice. Name your price. My answer was immediate. I don't want your money. I want you to stay away from me. Then I hung up. Julian called 23 times. I blocked him. Gemma sent dozens of messages. I deleted everyone. The next morning, Galaxy Pictures offered me the lead in their biggest upcoming film. Eleanor Thorne personally called to confirm it. And we're buying the distribution rights to your current movie from Sterling Pictures. I smiled. So you're taking their movie? We're taking their losses. I laughed. Perfect. Meanwhile, Julian's career was collapsing. The board of Sterling Enterprises summoned him for an emergency meeting. By the time he arrived, his position as vice president had already been suspended. Victoria couldn't save him. The board members had seen the recordings. They weren't interested in protecting a reckless heir who had nearly destroyed the company's reputation. Julian stormed out of the building and called me one final time from another number. Chloe, please. I answered.
What?
I made a mistake. You destroyed my career over one night. I'll fix everything. You can't.
Why?
Because you made the mistake of thinking my life belonged to you. He went silent. I continued. You wanted Gemma. You wanted my family's resources. You wanted my reputation to protect yours. Now you have exactly what you chose. Gemma. And nothing else. I hung up. That evening, I attended the premiere of my movie. The same movie that had nearly become the beginning of my downfall in my previous life. This time, I walked the red carpet to a storm of flashing cameras. Reporters shouted my name. Chloe. Over here. Chloe, are you planning to sue Sterling Enterprises? Chloe, what's next for your career? I smiled for the cameras. My answer was simple. I'm just getting started. And somewhere across the city, Julian was watching the broadcast from the apartment where he had once planned his perfect future with Gemma. He had no idea that tomorrow I would be taking the one thing he valued even more than money, his place in Sterling Enterprises. The next morning, Julian was summoned to the Sterling Enterprises boardroom. By the time he arrived, his position had already been suspended. The board had seen recordings, the messages, and the damage to the company's reputation. Victoria tried to defend him. He's still my son. One director slammed a folder onto the table. And because he's your son, we're supposed to let him destroy this company? Julian's face went pale. You're removing me? Until further notice. He stormed out and immediately called me. Chloe, please answer. I did. What? I made a mistake. No. You made a choice. You chose Gemma. You chose your career. You chose to sacrifice my reputation. Now live with those choices. He begged me to reconsider. I hung up. That afternoon, Galaxy Pictures announced that I had signed a 3-film deal. My movie, originally funded and distributed by Sterling Pictures, was transferred to Galaxy after several investors pulled out of Sterling. The premiere became a massive success. Meanwhile, Gemma's contract was terminated, her endorsements disappeared, and every company that had been preparing to promote her backed away. She publicly accused Julian of abandoning her. Julian denied everything. Then their private messages leaked. Their relationship collapsed overnight. 3 weeks later, the Sterling family held an emergency shareholder meeting. The board voted to permanently remove Julian from executive management. Victoria couldn't stop them. And then my father made one final move. Henderson Holdings acquired enough Sterling shares to become one of the company's largest shareholders. When the announcement hit the news, Julian stared at the screen in disbelief. The family he had tried to exploit now had a seat at the table. And I was sitting beside my father when we walked into the next board meeting. Julian looked at me like he'd seen a ghost. You did all this? I smiled. No. You did. I simply made sure everyone could see it. He lowered his head. For the first time, there was nothing left for him to take from me. No reputation. No career. No access to my family. And certainly no marriage. I walked past him without another word. In my previous life, Julian had promised to make it up to me in our next life. He was right about one thing. We did get another chance. He just never imagined I'd use mine to make sure he regretted ever knowing me. 3 months later, the Sterling family held another shareholder meeting. This time, I wasn't there as Julian's supposed future wife. I was there as one of their largest shareholders. The moment I entered the boardroom, every director stood. Julian was sitting at the far end of the table. He looked completely different. His expensive suits were gone. His position was gone. Even his seat at the executive table had been removed. Victoria looked at me with barely concealed hatred. Chloe, what exactly are you planning? I placed a folder on the table. An audit. Her expression changed. We reviewed several of Sterling Pictures' projects and discovered millions in questionable payments made through shell companies. Julian's face went white. That's impossible. I looked at him. You should know. You approved several of them. I pushed the folder toward the board. The directors started flipping through the documents. One of them immediately called for an independent investigation. Victoria stared at Julian. Did you know about this? Julian couldn't answer. That was enough. The board voted to suspend him from the company pending investigation. This time, even Victoria couldn't save him. As security escorted him out, he suddenly turned around. Chloe. I looked at him. He was furious now. You planned all of this from the beginning. I smiled. Of course I did. You thought I came back to expose one scandal. I came back to make sure you could never hurt me again. His face twisted. I hate you. I shrugged. That's fine. I never needed your love. I only needed you out of my life. Then I walked away. Outside the building, Mia was waiting for me. She grinned. Well, I held up the documents. Sterling Pictures is under investigation, Julian is suspended, and Galaxy Pictures just offered me another lead role. Mia burst out laughing. You really destroyed his entire life. I shook my head. No. He did that himself. I simply stopped protecting him from the consequences. That evening, I returned home to find my parents waiting with champagne. Dad raised his glass. To my daughter. Mom smiled. And to never letting another man decide your worth. I clinked my glass against theirs. For the first time, I looked at my own future without seeing Julian anywhere in it. My career was thriving. My family was safe. My name belonged to me again. And somewhere in the city, Julian Sterling was finally learning the lesson he had denied me in my previous life. Actions have consequences, especially when the person you tried to destroy survives. And this time, I had no intention of dying for his mistakes. Julian's ruin came faster than anyone expected. The financial investigation uncovered more than the board had anticipated. The shell companies were real. The missing millions were real. And several of the accounts were directly connected to projects Julian had personally approved. Sterling Enterprises immediately cut him loose. His father removed him from the family trust. His luxury apartment was seized. His cars were repossessed. The friends who once surrounded him disappeared overnight. Even Gemma stopped answering his calls. Within weeks, the billionaire heir, who had once been followed by cameras everywhere, was hiding his face whenever he stepped outside. Then came the final blow. The prosecution announced that Julian would be formally charged over the financial scheme. He had lost everything. But instead of accepting responsibility, he blamed me. He sent one last message. You ruined me. I stared at it for several seconds before deleting it. I had done nothing to him. I had simply refused to die for him. That night, Julian drove alone through the rain. He was desperate to leave the city before reporters found him again. His phone kept buzzing with messages from lawyers, creditors, and investigators. He ignored everyone. Then his car suddenly swerved. A truck had crossed into his lane. Julian slammed on the brakes. The car spun across the wet highway and crashed through the guardrail. The vehicle disappeared down the steep embankment. By the time emergency crews reached it, Julian was already gone. The news broke the next morning. Former Sterling heir Julian Sterling dies in car crash at 29. I was sitting in the makeup chair when Mia read the headline aloud. She slowly lowered her phone. Chloe. I looked at her. He's dead. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then I looked into the mirror. The woman staring back at me wasn't the woman who had swallowed sleeping pills in a lonely bedroom. She wasn't the woman who had begged the world to believe her. She wasn't Julian's fiancée. She wasn't his shield. She was Chloe Henderson, an actress, a daughter, a woman who had survived her own ending. I quietly turned back toward the makeup artist. Keep going. Mia blinked. You're not going to say anything? I smiled faintly. What is there to say? Julian spent his final months blaming everyone except himself. Now he doesn't have to worry about me anymore. I stood and walked toward the stage. The cameras were waiting. My next movie was about to begin filming. And as the director called for everyone to take their places, I stepped beneath the lights and smiled. My first life had ended at Julian's funeral. My second life began with his downfall. And this time, the final scene belonged to me.